You know, the old saying, the only two sure things in this life are death and taxes. I never really liked that saying much. It's just a little too cynical for my taste. I'd like to think that those aren't the only two sure things that this life has to offer. Nonetheless, I suppose there's some truth to it. We all know that evading our physical death is futile, and we all know that evading our taxes is both futile and felonious. Thankfully, we've not been left to flounder with these issues on our own. Jesus had something to say about both topics. In fact, as for the first of life's alleged sure things, death, Jesus offered himself as the antidote. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. But what about the second of life's inevitabilities, taxes? Did Jesus have anything to say on this topic, or were such things just too mundane for him to be bothered with? Well, the answer is yes, he did have something to say. Jesus did in fact weigh in on the topic of taxes. Check out Luke chapter 20, verses 21 through 25. Luke says, "Teacher," they said, "we know that you speak and teach what is right and are not influenced by what others think. You teach the way of God truthfully. Now tell us, is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Jesus saw through their trickery and said, "Show me a Roman coin. Whose picture and title are stamped on it?" "Caesar's," they replied. "Well then," he said, "give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God." Allow me to kind of paint the scene for you. It seems that one day while teaching in and around the temple, Jesus was approached by one of the religious leaders. Hoping to get Jesus in hot water with the Romans, the esteemed religious authority asked him whether or not it was right to pay taxes. Personally, I kind of wish Jesus would have answered this one a bit differently. Wouldn't it have been great if Jesus would have divinely absolved us wage earners from the burden of paying taxes? Jesus, though, had something else in mind. In response to the trick question, Jesus asked the religious leader to show him a Roman coin. He then asked him whose picture and title were stamped on it. Starting to feel the tables turning, the religious leader responded, "Well, Caesar's." "Well then," Jesus said, "give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God." I love this story. It's one of my favorites. But even so, I've always thought that this story ended just too soon. Is it just me, or does Jesus' spot-on response beg a follow-up question or two? Maybe something like, "So what must be given to God?" Or "What do I have that God could possibly want?" And I bet if Jesus had been pressed with such follow-up questions, he would most likely have reminded his learned inquirer of the story of God's creation, the sixth day of God's creation, when God said he created humankind in his image. Male and female, he created them. Do you get the picture? Perhaps what Jesus was telling him and us is to let Caesar have his coin. After all, it's got his picture on it. It's got his name on it. But in the same way, God has every right to claim that which bears his image, namely you and me. Just a little Monday morning food for thought. Stay safe, keep looking up, and keep loving one another. God's got this, and we'll see you tomorrow.